I was sitting in Mason's Café with my new wife Rebecca and her daughter Emma when a stranger placed a blue velvet box on my table and said 5 words that would save our lives. "You'll need this tonight." Before I could ask what he meant, he vanished into the lunch crowd like smoke. Inside that box was evidence of a conspiracy so twisted, so carefully planned, that if I hadn't opened it exactly when I did, none of us would have survived the night. My name is David Harrison. I'm 42 years old, and 3 months ago I married the woman I thought was the love of my life. Rebecca Foster was everything I'd ever wanted. Intelligent, beautiful, successful in her career as a pharmaceutical sales rep. And Emma, her 14-year-old daughter from her first marriage, seemed to genuinely like me. After my first marriage ended in a messy divorce 5 years ago, I thought I'd found my second chance at happiness. The cafe meeting that afternoon was supposed to be a celebration. Emma had just made the high school volleyball team, and Rebecca suggested we grab lunch together before I headed back to my accounting firm. Normal family stuff. The kind of ordinary moment that makes you feel like you're finally getting life right. Rebecca and Emma excused themselves to use the restroom, leaving me alone at our corner table. That's when he appeared. A man in his 60s, average height, wearing a gray suit that looked expensive but not flashy. Nothing about him screamed danger or urgency. He could have been anybody's grandfather. He walked straight to my table, set down a blue velvet jewelry box, and spoke in a voice that was calm but carried absolute certainty. "You'll need this tonight, David. Don't open it until you're alone. And whatever you do, don't let Rebecca know you have it." I started to stand up, started to ask him who the hell he was and how he knew my name, but he was already walking away. By the time I processed what had just happened, he'd disappeared through the cafe's front entrance. The whole interaction took maybe 10 seconds. The blue box sat on the table like a small bomb. I could see Rebecca and Emma making their way back from the restroom, laughing about something. My instinct was to grab the box, demand answers, chase after the stranger. But something in his voice, some quality I couldn't quite name, made me slip the box into my messenger bag instead. "Everything okay?" Rebecca asked as she slid back into her seat. She had that way of reading my face, knowing when something was bothering me. "Yeah, fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just got a text from work. Client emergency, nothing serious." Emma was already back on her phone, scrolling through messages from her volleyball teammates. Rebecca squeezed my hand and suggested we order dessert, and I sat there wondering what the hell was in that blue box and why a complete stranger thought I'd need it tonight. If you're intrigued by this story and want to know what was in that mysterious box, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment below telling me what you think was inside, and smash that like button so this story can reach more people. Trust me, you're not going to believe where this goes. The rest of lunch passed in a blur. I kept touching my messenger bag, feeling the outline of that velvet box through the canvas. Rebecca noticed my distraction. "David, are you sure everything's all right? You seem a million miles away." "Just thinking about that client issue," I said, which was becoming easier to lie about the more I practiced it. "Might need to work late tonight to sort it out." Rebecca's expression shifted slightly, something I couldn't quite read. "Oh, I was hoping we could all have dinner together. Emma's been looking forward to showing you her volleyball schedule." Emma looked up from her phone. "It's cool, Mom. David has work stuff. We can do it tomorrow." There was something in the way Emma said it that bothered me. Not resentment exactly, but resignation, like she was used to plans changing, used to adults disappointing her. "Actually," I heard myself saying, "the work thing can wait until tomorrow morning. Let's definitely do dinner together tonight." Rebecca's smile was radiant. "Perfect. I'll make my special pasta. Emma, you can help me with the salad." We paid the check and headed out to our separate cars. Rebecca and Emma were parked on the street, while my sedan was in the lot behind the cafe. As I walked to my car alone, I pulled out my phone and called my business partner, Mitchell Hayes. "Mitch, I need a favor," I said when he answered. "Can you cover my afternoon appointments? Something's come up." Mitchell had been my partner for 8 years. He knew me well enough to hear the tension in my voice. "Everything okay?" "I don't know yet. I'll explain later if there's something to explain." I drove straight home to my apartment, the one I'd kept even after marrying Rebecca because we were planning to buy a house together in a few months. Rebecca and Emma lived in her house across town, and we'd been splitting our time between both places. Tonight I was grateful for the privacy. The blue velvet box felt heavier than it should as I pulled it from my bag. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at it for a full minute before finally opening the lid. Inside was a flash drive, a small key, and a handwritten note on expensive paper. The handwriting was precise, almost calligraphic. "David," the note read. "My name is Gregory Foster. I was Rebecca's first husband and Emma's father. If you're reading this, I'm either dead or they've finally succeeded in making everyone think I'm dead. The flash drive contains evidence that will explain everything. The key is to a storage unit at Secure Space on Highland Avenue, Unit 237. Everything you need to protect yourself and Emma is there. You have approximately 6 hours before Rebecca attempts to kill you. She's done this before. I was just too slow to stop her. Don't make my mistake. Trust nothing she's told you about me. Trust nothing she's told you about anything." My hands were shaking as I read the note 3 times. Gregory Foster was supposed to be dead. Killed in a car accident 2 years ago. Rebecca had cried when she told me about it during our 3rd date, how she and Emma had to rebuild their lives after losing him so suddenly. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop, and what I found made my blood run cold. The first folder contained medical records. Rebecca's medical records, going back 15 years. Multiple prescriptions for psychiatric medications, diagnoses of borderline personality disorder, antisocial tendencies, pathological lying. Notes from therapists documenting manipulative behavior, violent outbursts, threats against partners. The second folder was worse. It contained investigation reports from a private detective Gregory had apparently hired 6 months before his supposed death. Photos of Rebecca meeting with various men. Financial records showing money transfers from joint accounts to offshore accounts in her name only. Emails discussing insurance policies, specifically life insurance policies she'd taken out on Gregory without his knowledge. The third folder nearly made me vomit. It was documentation of 2 previous marriages before Gregory, 2 previous husbands who had both died in suspicious circumstances. Nathan Carver died in a house fire in 2008. Rebecca collected $500,000 in insurance money. Thomas Brennan died from a fall down the stairs in 2012. Rebecca collected $750,000. Gregory Foster, according to the accident report in the folder, had died when his car went off a bridge in 2022. Rebecca collected $1.2 million. But the final document in that folder was what changed everything. It was a death certificate dated 6 months ago for Gregory Foster, with a note attached in his handwriting. This certificate is fake. I staged my death to protect Emma and to gather evidence against Rebecca before she could kill me for real. She doesn't know I'm alive. She can never know I'm alive, or she'll use Emma to force me out of hiding. I sat back from my laptop, trying to process what I was seeing. If this was real, if any of this was true, I'd married a serial killer, a black widow who'd murdered at least 2 men, possibly 3, and collected millions in insurance money. And tonight, according to Gregory's note, she was planning to make me number 4. I checked my watch. It was 2:47 p.m. If Gregory was right about having 6 hours, that meant Rebecca would make her move around 8:47 p.m., during our family dinner at her house. My phone rang, making me jump. It was Rebecca. "Hey, honey," she said, her voice warm and loving. "I'm at the grocery store picking up ingredients for dinner. Do you prefer the regular pasta or the wheat pasta?" I forced my voice to sound normal. "Regular's fine." "Perfect. Oh, and David, I'm so glad we're doing this. Tonight. Just the 3 of us. It feels like we're really becoming a family, doesn't it?" "Yeah," I said, staring at the evidence of her previous families spread across my laptop screen. "It really does. I'll see you at 6:30. Don't be late." After she hung up, I immediately called the number at the bottom of Gregory's note. It rang 4 times before a man answered. "You opened the box," he said. Not a question, a statement. "Gregory Foster? That's the name I used to have. Now I'm just a man trying to keep his daughter alive while documenting his ex-wife's crimes. Did you read everything on the drive?" "Most of it. This is insane. Rebecca isn't... She can't be." "A murderer?" Gregory interrupted. "She is, and she's very good at it. The first 2 looked like accidents because they were accidents, sort of. She created situations where accidents became inevitable. With me, she sabotaged my car's brake line. I discovered it an hour before she expected me to drive that route. I had enough time to stage my death and go into hiding. Why didn't you go to the police? Gregory laughed bitterly. With what evidence? Rebecca's a genius at covering her tracks. Every document, every transaction, every interaction is carefully planned. The police investigated my accident and found nothing suspicious. They investigated Nathan's fire and Thomas's fall and found nothing. She's untouchable through conventional channels. Then what am I supposed to do? Just wait for her to kill me? No. You're going to survive tonight, and you're going to help me finally take her down. But first, you need to understand exactly how she operates. Rebecca doesn't do anything violent herself. She arranges situations. Tonight at dinner, she'll probably suggest you check something in the basement. A leak, maybe, or a strange noise. The basement stairs have been sabotaged. You'll fall, break your neck, and it'll look like a tragic accident. I thought about Rebecca's house, the basement with its steep wooden stairs. I'd only been down there once to help move some storage boxes. How do you know that's her plan? Because it's the same thing she did to Thomas. Same stairs, different house. Rebecca has patterns. She sticks with what works. I've been monitoring her from a distance for 2 years, watching her set this up. When you started dating 6 months ago, I knew she'd found her next target. Why didn't you warn me then? Would you have believed a supposedly dead ex-husband calling to tell you your new girlfriend was a serial killer? No. You'd have told Rebecca, she'd have adjusted her plans, and you'd be dead already. I had to wait until the last possible moment, until she was fully committed to tonight's timeline. Now she can't back out without raising suspicion. What about Emma? Is she... Emma has no idea what her mother is. Rebecca's been a perfect mother to her, loving and attentive. It's part of how she maintains her cover. Nobody suspects a devoted single mom of being a murderer. Emma thinks I died in an accident. She's been in grief counseling for 2 years. If she knew the truth, it would destroy her. I looked at the time again. 3:15 p.m. Just over 5 hours until dinner. The storage unit, I said. What's in it? Recording equipment. Cameras small enough to hide in your clothes. Audio devices. Everything you need to document what happens tonight. You're going to go to that dinner, and you're going to get Rebecca to confess on tape. It's the only way to stop her. She'll never confess. She will if you handle it right. Rebecca's greatest weakness is her ego. She thinks she's smarter than everyone else, and she is. But that makes her cocky. If you confront her with evidence, if you show her you know what she's done, she'll want to explain how clever she was, how she fooled everyone. That's when we get her. And if something goes wrong, if she realizes what I'm doing? Gregory's silence stretched long enough to be an answer in itself. Finally, he said, then you run, and you take Emma with you. Because if Rebecca thinks you're a threat, she won't wait for the perfect accident. She'll improvise, and that makes her dangerous in a different way. I spent the next hour at the secure space facility, learning how to use the equipment Gregory had prepared. The camera was built into a button on my shirt. The audio recorder was disguised as a pen in my pocket. Everything wireless, everything transmitting to Gregory's laptop in real time. I'll be monitoring from my car outside Rebecca's house, he explained over the phone as I practiced with the equipment. If anything goes wrong, I can be inside in 30 seconds. After 2 years of hiding, you're risking exposure to help me? I'm risking exposure to save my daughter from growing up with a monster, and to stop Rebecca from killing anyone else. This ends tonight, one way or another. At 6:15 p.m. I drove to Rebecca's house. My shirt camera was recording, my audio pen was in my pocket, and in my other pocket, I had something Gregory didn't know about. My phone, set to auto-dial 911 if I didn't cancel the call within 2 hours. Rebecca greeted me at the door with a kiss that felt like a lie. Right on time. Emma's finishing homework upstairs. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. The house smelled amazing, like garlic and tomato sauce and fresh bread. Normal. Domestic. Exactly the kind of scene that would make the news anchors shake their heads sadly when they reported my tragic accidental death. Can I help with anything? I asked, following Rebecca into the kitchen. You could open the wine. There's a bottle of that Chianti you like in the basement wine rack. There it was. The first move. I'd barely been in the house 5 minutes and she was already trying to get me down those stairs. Actually, I'm not really in the mood for wine tonight. Long day at work. Maybe just water? Rebecca's smile didn't waver, but something flickered in her eyes. Annoyance, maybe, or concern that her script wasn't being followed. Oh, okay. Well, there's sparkling water in the basement fridge if you want that instead. Regular tap water's fine, I said, filling a glass from the kitchen sink. She watched me drink, her expression unreadable. Then she turned back to stirring her sauce, and I could see the gears turning, recalculating, adjusting her plan. Emma came downstairs then, saving me from whatever Rebecca's next move would have been. She gave me a quick hug, unusual for a teenager, and started setting the table. I helped her, grateful for the task that kept us both in the kitchen where Rebecca couldn't isolate me. During dinner, I watched Rebecca more carefully than I ever had before. She was performing, I realized. Every gesture, every word, every loving glance at Emma or affectionate touch on my arm was calculated. She was playing the role of perfect wife and mother, and she was brilliant at it. "David, you seem distracted again," Rebecca said as we cleared the dinner plates. "Are you sure everything's okay?" "Actually," I said, taking a breath, "there's something we need to talk about. Something important." Emma looked between us nervously. She'd lived through one parent's death already. Any serious adult conversation probably triggered anxiety. "Emma, honey, why don't you go upstairs for a bit?" Rebecca said gently. "David and I need some private time." "No," I said firmly. "Emma should hear this too. It concerns her." Rebecca's expression shifted, mask slipping slightly. "David, I really don't think—" "I know about Gregory," I interrupted. "I know he's alive." The kitchen went silent. Emma stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Rebecca's face went completely blank, emotionless in a way that was more terrifying than anger would have been. "What are you talking about?" Emma whispered. "My dad is dead." "No, sweetheart, he's not. He staged his death to escape your mother, and I know why." Rebecca stood up slowly. "David, you're clearly not well. Maybe you should go home and get some rest. We can talk about this tomorrow when you're thinking more clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly. I know about Nathan Carver. I know about Thomas Brennan. I know about the insurance money. And I know that tonight, you were planning to make me your fourth victim." Emma was crying now, confused and scared. "Mom, what's he talking about?" Rebecca ignored her daughter, her full attention on me now. The mask was completely gone. What I saw in her eyes was cold calculation, and something else, curiosity. "How did you find out?" she asked calmly, like we were discussing the weather. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me. I'm very careful. Whoever told you obviously had access to information that should have been impossible to obtain. Gregory left me everything. Every document, every medical record, every piece of evidence. He's been watching you for 2 years. Rebecca actually smiled. "Gregory, he always was more resourceful than the others. I should have made absolutely certain he was dead before I collected the insurance money." That was sloppy of me. Emma was standing now, backing away from her mother. "Mom, what is he talking about? You couldn't." "Oh, Emma," Rebecca sighed. "You're such an innocent child, so trusting, so easy to manipulate, just like your father was, just like they all were." I felt my phone in my pocket, silently counting down to that auto dial. 15 more minutes. "You want to know the truth, Emma?" Rebecca continued, her voice taking on an almost dreamy quality. "I've been planning David's death since our 3rd date. The moment I knew he had substantial life insurance and no children to inherit, he became my next project. And you, my darling daughter, have been the perfect prop. Who would ever suspect a devoted mother of murder?" Emma was sobbing now. I moved toward her, but Rebecca stepped between us. "The beautiful thing about it," Rebecca said, and now she was talking to me, her ego fully engaged just like Gregory predicted, "is how simple it really is. You find a man with money and no close family. You become exactly what he needs. You make him dependent on you emotionally. You isolate him from his friends gradually, subtly, so he doesn't even notice. And then you create the perfect accident." "Like sabotaging Gregory's brakes?" She laughed. "That was elegant, wasn't it? He was supposed to die on that mountain road. The investigation would have found nothing but brake failure from old brake lines. Tragic accident. Poor single mother left to raise her daughter alone. Except Gregory figured it out somehow. He discovered the sabotage and disappeared before I could try again. I should have hunted him down, but the insurance company paid out anyway after the required waiting period for missing persons presumed dead. So in a way it worked out. What about Nathan and Thomas? Nathan was easy. He smoked in bed sometimes when he was drunk. I just had to make sure he was very drunk and very sleepy one night. The fire marshal ruled it accidental. Thomas required more planning. I weakened a step on our basement stairs, then called him down to check on a fake leak. He fell exactly as expected. Broken neck, instant death. The police found the weakened step, but they assumed it was just old wood that had rotted. Poor maintenance, not poor intentions. She was confessing everything, exactly as Gregory said she would, and every word was being recorded by the devices in my shirt and pocket. Tonight was going to be similar, Rebecca continued. The basement stairs here have a loose board at the top. All I needed was to get you down there, give you a little push at the right moment, and you'd tumble down. Emma would be upstairs with her headphones on, studying. She wouldn't hear anything. By the time she came down and found you, it would be too late. Another tragic accident. You're insane, I said. No, David, I'm practical. Do you know how much money I've made from my marriages? Almost $3 million, tax-free insurance money. And I've never had to work a real job because of it. I've lived comfortably, raised my daughter in nice homes, traveled whenever I wanted. All because I'm willing to do what weak people like you won't do. Mom, stop, Emma pleaded. Please stop talking. You're scaring me. Rebecca turned to her daughter, and for the first time, I saw something like genuine emotion on her face. Regret, maybe, or something close to it. I'm sorry you had to hear this, Emma. I really am. But David forced my hand. If he'd just gone down those stairs like he was supposed to, you'd never have known. You could have kept believing in me, kept loving me. Now everything's ruined. My phone in my pocket silently connected to 911. I could hear the faint sound of the dispatcher answering. I pulled it out and put it on speaker. This is 911 dispatcher. What's your emergency? I need police at 4725 Birchwood Drive immediately, I said clearly, my eyes locked on Rebecca. The homeowner has just confessed to multiple murders. Rebecca's expression transformed from calm confidence to rage in an instant. She lunged toward me, but Emma moved faster. My stepdaughter grabbed her mother's arm, holding her back with surprising strength. No, Mom, Emma said through her tears. No more. The sound of sirens filled the air outside. Gregory must have heard everything and called the police as backup. Within minutes, the house was surrounded by police cars. They took Rebecca away in handcuffs while she screamed that I'd fabricated everything, that the recordings were fake, that this was all some elaborate conspiracy against her. But the evidence was overwhelming. The medical records, the financial documents, the private investigators' reports, and most damning of all, her own recorded confession. Gregory appeared then, walking up the driveway like a ghost returning from the dead. Emma saw him and froze, her face cycling through shock, disbelief, and finally joy. She ran to him, and he caught her in an embrace that made even the hardened police officers look away. I watched them hold each other, father and daughter reunited after 2 years of believing they'd never see each other again. This was what it had all been about. Not revenge, not justice, but love. Gregory's love for his daughter had kept him alive and hidden for 2 years, and that same love had saved my life tonight. The investigation that followed revealed even more than Gregory had discovered. Rebecca had a previous identity before Nathan Carver. Her real name was Rebecca Ann Mitchell, and she'd been suspected but never charged in the death of her college boyfriend 20 years ago. He'd fallen from a balcony at a party, ruled accidental at the time but now being investigated. The DA was building a case that would likely put Rebecca away for life. Multiple counts of murder, attempted murder, insurance fraud, and a dozen other charges, without the possibility of parole. Emma moved in with Gregory, who'd been living under an assumed name in a small apartment across town. She was traumatized, devastated by her mother's betrayal, but she was getting therapy and slowly healing. Gregory made sure she knew that none of this was her fault, that she'd been a victim too, manipulated by someone who should have protected her. As for me, I sold my practice and moved to a different state. Started fresh somewhere Rebecca's shadow couldn't reach. I still have nightmares sometimes. Dreams where I'm falling down those basement stairs, where I trusted the wrong person and paid the ultimate price. But mostly, I think about that stranger in the cafe. Gregory Foster. Risking exposure after 2 years of hiding. Betting everything on the hope that I'd open that blue box and believe an impossible story. If I'd ignored him, if I'd thrown the box away or shown it to Rebecca, I'd be dead now. Emma would still be living with a murderer, and Rebecca would be planning her 5th kill. Sometimes the difference between life and death comes down to a moment of trust. A decision to believe something that seems impossible. A willingness to look at the person you love and see them clearly, even when the truth is terrifying. I got lucky. The mysterious stranger who handed me that box was exactly who he claimed to be. The evidence was real, the danger was real, and I had just enough time to act before it was too late. Not everyone gets that lucky. Not everyone gets a warning. Most of Rebecca's victims never knew what was coming until it was too late. They trusted, they loved, and they died believing their deaths were accidents. If there's anything I learned from this nightmare, it's that you never truly know another person. You know the version of themselves they choose to show you. Rebecca showed me a loving wife, a devoted mother, a woman building a future with me. What she actually was hiding underneath that performance was a predator who saw me as nothing more than her next payday. So now I'm more careful. Maybe too careful. I don't date, don't trust easily, don't let people close enough to hurt me. Some would say that's no way to live, that I'm letting Rebecca's evil poison my future. Maybe they're right, but I'm alive to have that debate. And that's more than Nathan, Thomas, or the college boyfriend can say. If you found this story valuable, if it made you think differently about trust and deception, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a comment below about your thoughts on recognizing dangerous people in your life. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more true stories about ordinary people discovering extraordinary truths hidden in the places they least expect. Because everyone wears masks. Some people just wear them better than others. And sometimes, a small blue velvet box handed to you by a stranger is the only thing standing between you and becoming another tragic accident statistic. Stay safe out there. Pay attention to the warnings, even when they come from impossible sources. And remember that sometimes the person sleeping next to you is the one you should fear most. The man in the cafe gave me a box that saved my life. I'm sharing this story in hopes that it might save yours.